Should be. Now we are live.
Alhamdulillah.
Wait for this to show up. A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.
Ameen.
We are back at it. It's been a while since I have done a program like this on this group. Um, and I happen to be back in what I call my studio. Um, and I refer to it as the studio as a result of the dua of um, Sheikh Ibrahim Niyas. And that story is that my brother-in-law, his grandfather was a companion of Sheikh Ibrahim Niyas, famous Sinhalese Sheikh. So he was a companion of his, and this I learned. This I learned after talking to my brother-in-law, his father, talking to his father. I was sitting with him, and he was giving me more details. He was giving me those details about his father. Being a companion of his. So that's how it started. He used to be a companion. So by the time um, the father of my brother-in-law came along, became like a son to Sheikh Ibrahim Nias. So became like a son to him and traveled with him. So he told me about a trip they were going to take. And this trip, Sheikh Ibrahim Nias was taking a long trip through Africa, all the way to the Arab states, to the Gulf states. And this particular trip, he went to Nigeria with them, and there, his somebody that was close to his age, the grandson of Sheikh Ibrahim Nias, Sheikh Hassan Sisi, was there waiting. So when that trip, the father of my brother-in-law, he had to go back and start a job. Was just starting his job, so he didn't continue on in that trip. But he met up with Sheikh Hassan Sisi as he went along with Sheikh Ibrahim Nias. And so it was a big one of those important trips that he took. One of the important trips that Sheikh Ibrahim Nias took, because he got a lot of accolades and a lot of respect amongst the scholars throughout the world. So he was welcome where he went. And even got the title of what was it? He got the title of. He had got one big famous title. I forgot but he was well respected. Obviously, millions of people, throughout Africa, West Africa, and also different parts of the world. Follow him. And benefit from him and from his grandson Sheikh Hassan Sisi and their line. So by the time my brother-in-law came along in the 80s, they would whenever they would come to the car where my brother-in-law lived, they would come. Their family would come. Of course, by this time, it's Sheikh Hassan Sisi and his siblings and stuff that's coming. They would come and they would stay with them there. They would host them. They would be the host family. So I was thinking about what tying in with this, what I'm saying as far as this studio is that when you come as a guest, the guests, they give something by their generosity and their hospitality, but the person that's being hosted, they give them something they give the host, they give by hosting the guests, but the guests also give something in return. So one of the things, those righteous, they're not going to let you outdo them in goodness. One of the things that you learn about them, that they learn from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they're not going to allow you to outdo them in goodness. So you think about the du'as that they made, for that. So I like to think of my sister and Mary, my brother-in-law, the goodness that came, being part from one of those du'as. As I see the family, they have a lot of blessings on that family. You can see the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the blessings, potential blessings on that family, and a part of that could be those du'as, as we know how powerful the du'as of the awliya, and many people believe that, they had awliya, Hassan Sisi, Sheikh Ibrahim Has, in that family, and their du'as are accepted, and it's barak and its traces. We learn about the traces of of the righteous that reach us. You mean that those traces, those glances, those gazes can be sufficient for changing hearts and purifying hearts. You mean. Um, so that's where I'm at today, back in that studio, and hopefully, you mean we can um, have some traces, some goodness to be able to benefit anybody who might listen, anybody who might be wondering, me be on the fence about what's going on here. So right now we have today with us Brother Emad. Another brother was supposed to be joining us, but he is not here at the time. Maybe he will be able to come through.
I'm having difficulties with my Bluetooth.
With your camera? Okay, why you doing that? And this is what we titled the brothers being used as the help in marriages. Maybe controversial, but this is the I didn't share my screen. This is a space for Black Muslim men to be able to express themselves freely, and of course we respect women. You know, men don't be disrespectful, but we don't have to be on eggshells. We don't have to, shy away from saying certain things. I don't know why this is not scrolling down. I should have asked for her Wi-Fi. Shoot. 1 second. What the heck is that about?
You hear me?
Yes, I'm trying to
Still not connected.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, but it's just
Yes, static. I hear the static. But I think that's just you trying to adjust it. Hold on, wait 1 second. I think your mic might be on mute for the. Is your mic on mute?
yeah, I have it on mute.
Oh, you had it on mute.
Put it on mute, but I'm trying to. And I can't really hear you off the phone. That was until you looked.
Now the sound is a little. So yeah, so this title, chosen for a reason, and it's. I know when I made a post about it, people were like confused. Seeing the word "the help," you mean they were automatically like some of the women went to like thinking that like a brother would marry and not help out. Maybe bad experience they had, but the help, one of those expressions that you mean that we understand within the culture. You mean you somebody who understands will think of something like like butler or something. You mean somebody that's why I put the driving Miss Daisy thing. Somebody that's there. Like one brother put utility. They're there for a purpose, but the purpose is not the right purpose. You mean that a marriage is for? You mean for it to be functioning properly, for it to be effective, for it to be beneficial to all that is involved. But to help, you mean you're there to help them. You're there to support their agenda, and and their causes. And but as we know, the purpose of marriage is not that. We help each other out, but they help. That's the butler type. That's somebody that's being used for something. You mean they're being used. That's why the word used. You mean, and there's certain reasons why we allow ourselves to get in that situation. Certain reasons why, we're invited to that situation. Invited to those situations. So, do you think it sounds good enough? I want to get into your background, so you can tell people about yourself. How you grew up. You can introduce yourself if you can hear me.
This is not working. So I can only hear you on my phone, and it's kind of low. But alhamdulillah, bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm Imad Farouk from Pittsburgh. Born and partially raised. I was kind of like raised in different places. A lot of my family is from down south. I spent a little bit of time down there. But I came in the Dean in 2007. Actually, and I was incarcerated. I was a Christian, going to church at least 4 times a week. Choir, all that stuff. My mother, she had Bible study teachers come into the house and everything when I was younger. But I never really, heard anything about, at least that I remember. I've been in a couple car accidents, so my memory's kind of shot. Mm-hmm. But, I don't remember anything about Islam. When I was incarcerated, I was doing Bible studies. Mm-hmm. A young brother. I was like 24. When I went in, 27 when I was introduced to it. This was in 07. A young brother, he was maybe 18. This is when I was like, oh, how did Jesus pray and different things like that. But anyway, just a little background, about who I am, where I came from. Like I said, none of my family spoke about Islam. I don't think to today, they don't really know anything about Islam, nor do they want to learn anything about Islam. So it's basically, me. I do what I can. I always wanted to, I wanted to be guided. I always wanted to know how Jesus prayed. I knew that he prostrated. I never thought that he was God. The Son of God was kind of like, like a theoretical understanding or something like that. Nothing like, he was like, God's son, as far as like his child, and how we do it, So I just thought maybe, they thought that they were the sons of God. They called themselves that. It was like a capital S, But trying to think of the questions that you asked me. I'm trying to look at my other phone. What other questions did you have? I was supposed to remember.
Yeah, so you may just giving a general background. So like your basis in being a religious, being a religious Christian. Do you think that had an influence on you seeking out Islam from being somebody that was studying, studying what you had at the time?
Well, I didn't really have any teachers really until Imam night. I was taught extensively though when I was locked up, but most of that was what we're learning against now. You know, 3 Tawheeds, you know, stuff like that. You know, I didn't know that there was, you know, any difference or anything like that as far as uh, the Salafi, you know, anything, or if they were called the Wahhabi then or anything. I didn't know anything like that. Um, my thing was just learn how to, you know, do my salat right, learn how to recite, you know, and I didn't even know like where to look for certain things or anything like that. I didn't know, you know, anything about like Ford Ein. Uh, Wudu was pretty good, but I didn't know like most of the stuff that I, you know, learned within the last year and a half. You know, Shahada and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Um, but that's, you know, that's basically it. I learned Akhdari, you know, name, you know, told him before. Um, he knew it before, obviously, but under Sheikh Hamza Mukbil out in Cleveland, we drove out there every week and we learned, um, you know, Akhdari.
Right.
But other than that, like I said, I was.
And what I meant was, did like your background? Did you like your background? Because you mentioned the Bible study and stuff like that. You mean, did that background, you know, influence you on seeking out, you know, Islam, seeking out the truth, you know?
Well, like I said, I didn't know anything about Islam, but I do remember getting a book from Brother Jamil. He passed a couple years back. He has a Islamic store here, Islamic African store in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
But then I still don't even remember even reading that book.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like basically everything was from when I was incarcerated,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But when I was incarcerated, like I was all before that was introduced to me, I was already trying to find the truth because I knew that there was something missing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, in the Bible. I knew it was something.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, there was no structure, and I always like that's what I was trying to say before. I always seek structure. Like I stuck out my dad. You know, my father wasn't really in my life. You know, my mother never said anything against him or anything, but it was just like obsolete. When he wanted to show up, he showed up. I didn't punish him for that in my own thoughts. When I came of a certain age, I told my mother, I think I was 5th grade, wanted to go and live with my dad. You know, so I mean, we supposed to seek out the things that are in our mind, in our hearts, you know. But it's usually other people on the outside that dictates that, you know. So either you're going to listen to those things for the reason why you're listening to them, you're hearing them in your head, or you know, or you're going to listen to somebody else's, you know, dictatorship of whatever after you come to a certain age, you know. But I was of an age where I was, you know, thinking about a lot of things, thinking about death. My mother ain't know. You know, I used to go in the, you know, in the basement and have shed a little bit of tears or whatever, just thinking about it. But I didn't know, you know, any absolutes about it at all. I didn't know what I was supposed to think about it.
Mm-hmm. You before I jump into my next question, you got, I don't know if you can see the comments with your phone.
No, need to switch the phone.
You got Mansour Alameen giving you salams.
Alhamdulillah. I didn't want my phone to ring while we were on here, so I put it on. No.
So how did what was your experience like with dealing with women and girls growing up? What was your experience like? You mean, how was your approach like?
I can't even hear you. This thing is just like really ridiculous. This phone right now. How could I go out and come back in? Because I want you to remember that question that you just asked me also.
A quick way.
Let's see.
You trying to come in with the same device, or you trying to use the same device?
No, I'm gonna come in with my other device.
I can just send you an invite to the other device. Shoot.
But it's on the Facebook.
I can send another invite to this. Or you can go to.
Send me another invite, inshallah.
Yeah. One second.
Or I think I can go in on the same one, actually.
One sec. So the brothers having some difficulties with that. Shit. Where did that?
I think I know why. Because I had something playing in my background. Something I was listening to earlier.
Why?
I think. Let me see if I could take it off. 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see if that worked.
Took it off.
Did not work.
I'm trying to find that. Oops.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to my open when I had the window open for my Facebook. Okay. Let me add this one. Okay.
I just switched it over.
Okay. Is it better? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you louder on my phone.
Okay. So I was asking like your experiences, what your experiences like dealing with women, your approach to women and girls, because different people have different approaches,
Especially before Islam.
Before Islam, because that's important, because it all ties in, like to our discussion, you know what I mean? Even like me being born, raised Muslim, and my parents staying together the whole time. But there were certain things that happened when I was young, that I didn't understand, that even my parents weren't aware of, weren't able to protect me from, that affected how I dealt with women as an adult. How does that affect how I dealt with women as a teenager? You know what I mean? Even though within that structure, I had one brother, one sister, and a sister by marriage, who reached marriage as virgins. They was in that same structure, and they had different results with me, and different things that happen. That are not said. Different things happen, especially when you talk about black people and black boys. Who was totally overlooked as far as certain things. And certain things are not even supposed to be addressed. And you're not supposed to address it. You're not just to deal with it. Man up. So stuff that never gets addressed. So it never gets dealt with. And that's I was listening to part of Imam the Boom Bap, his khutbah, where he was talking about accepting that certain things. And it being healing just sometimes, and just true acceptance of a condition that you're dealing with, and not being in denial of it. Embracing it and dealing with it. But we are taught not to even deal with it. Deal with certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To totally just close off certain things. But it comes out, in our relationships, it comes out in our marriages, you know what I mean? So that's what I was getting at, as far as
I didn't have too much of that. I mean, as far as like
and we can speak we kicking it, we can speak freely, like
as far as like with my family and stuff like that, it was basically their actions. Like my nana, she was old school. I don't know if I'm still hearing it from this phone. I'm like, why am I hearing the echo? She was old
You still hear
school,
echo?
and you know, and when I was younger, we had moved my granny from Americus, Georgia. She, she's old school and very very much trained in the way um, of her ancestors, her people. So like they had different things like men had to come in the house first, family and stuff like that. As far as like, you know,
Now this your grandma?
being near physically, they weren't near really as far as like what I'm actually supposed to do. It's just like you do this, what I say do. Here you go. You go get the switch. But you know, those those things help you, to be a model citizen towards, other people and showing sincerity and stuff like that. But it really doesn't teach you for the future. As far as like who to look for as a wife and actually looking for a wife. That's a big thing that I wasn't really taught, not in Christianity that that I was taught, nor in our communities really, marriage. You know,
Right.
that's like the highest word of thinking, as how we grew up as relationships or anything like that. So it's like we were taught, that there's marriage and then there's relationships. We weren't really taught how to be a husband or how to be a mother, we weren't taught how to be a mother like that. So there's really um, no upbringing that at all. So my experience is, I think maybe because of that and because of um, the experience that I had, that whether I was forced into it or not, either not listening or not having anything to listen to, not. But the experiences that I had were very few for real. I ain't really have any, real big relationships except for two. I had like a crush growing up, but it was like our families were always together and stuff like that. And, we celebrate holidays and stuff. We, all meet up, had a little crush and stuff. It was no more than like kissing or anything like that, but that's how I grew up. I was kind of a like yucky girl type dude, until I moved to Belsever with my father. Um, but anyway, going back to being older, um, high school and stuff like that, well, I would say like three. Like my first relationship was in high school. You wanted to y'all wanted to go places and buy each other stuff. That's about it. Then my second relationship was um, with a girl. I met her in high school. Um, we moved out of town from high school, moved back here. Actually, when I met her, she was, you know, pregnant already, so I ended up, taking care of the child that, wasn't my biological.
Wait. You said now you getting into are you getting into your the woman that became your first wife, or
Yeah,
okay, you say you met her, she was already pregnant.
yeah.
She had one kid that was already born, or
No, she wasn't born.
okay, she just
She
had
was
one
four.
one
She
on
was
the way.
4 months in the one.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I was kind of like, I wanted to take some responsibilities without even really knowing how to be responsible, and, I guess as we grow up, we're taught like, don't, you know, I wasn't, I don't be like that because I like being counsel. I like, doing things correctly because once I learned the wrong way, I'm like eclectic. I'm hands-on type of dude. So if I learn it, I'm going to go hard in it. You know what I'm saying? Even if it may not be prosperous, you know? So, I kind of like went hard in that situation and it wasn't really a prosperous situation.
Mm-hmm.
as far as me, and her. Just each other. Assalamu alaikum. We had another child from that situation, and we was just being unjust with each other for real. For real. It wasn't even a situation where like I was using her or she was using me. We just was two kids, ain't know nothing, and we was just looking for love for real,
Mm-hmm.
so called, you know. And that was just basically it. Now my last, uh, that wasn't marriage. I wasn't married to her.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to marry her. I got her a ring and was doing stupid stuff. I lost the ring and was just doing stupid stuff. But, my last relationship, I was married. Um, we have two beautiful children. That's on my profile. Um, she wasn't Muslim, and it was a difficult situation. I was Muslim. She met me fully garbed, you know, and then I just gave up basically for real. Like I can go all into like, oh yeah, she was this and she was this and she was that or whatever. It could be all true, but at the end of the day, it's if you're gonna you you can't give up who you are for someone else or for who someone else is if it's not something that is you know going to help both of you you know so I basically like gave up everything that I knew like I knew so many sorta
Mm-hmm.
so much stuff, man, from praying every day to praying like 3 times a day, making excuses because I'm working, you
Mm-hmm.
know praying like 2 times a day and just not being the man in the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it came to like me just being there for real. Like
Mm-hmm.
doing what I'm supposed to do. I came in a relationship. She had 2 children, 5, and the youngest one was 5, and the oldest one was 7. I think something like that. Whatever, maybe 8, and the youngest one was about to turn 6. You know, and it started off nice, but it didn't start off right. You know, and I just basically became like we was talking about, like basically to help and the one who was causing havoc in a situation. Because if I wasn't bringing truth, if I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, regardless of what she may have showed me, then I wasn't doing nothing but causing a situation, making it worse. So those are um, my two. I'm married now. Um, Alhamdulillah, Allah provides. Is all razak. You know, um, and it ain't perfect. Um, but we do things according to, we're supposed to try to be just with each other, you know, and talk things out. Um, like I said, this is a lot different because her son is older, he's 29. But like I said, in my last, relationship, I didn't really get too much into it as far as like how I felt that I was to help. you
Yeah,
know,
man. You holding back.
I know you was looking at me like,
Holding
break
back.
that down, bro. I
You make
mean,
you can be
so well, I'll break that down a little bit, because I think that you know, in the Muslim community and in a non-Muslim community, I think that it comes from the non-Muslim community because we weren't really raised Muslim. You know,
mm-hmm.
as far as most of us here, even some of us, if we had a lot of us had Muslim parents,
Yeah,
you
come
know.
on, don't water it down here, man. Come on.
I can't even see it, man. Sores over here, but you already know.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, man. But I still say I'm gonna let you know, but I'm just saying like at the end I still say Alhamdulillah. I
I mean,
still try, what I'm saying? I still make mistakes, you know. I try to talk to her. I talk to my children. I want to have a peaceful
co-parenting situation where it should be just and it should be equal and nobody oppressor in between, treat my child like she's a product and like I'm a customer and like she's the business owner. No, we don't need that. We don't need them in there.
Is that
I'm
happening?
the child's worth. That happens.
Is that happening?
So, well, not with my youngest children.
Mhm.
You know, she
She's
she
playing
wants it
games.
because she think that I want to like keep my children. So, but I slang her money. So, you know,
Mhm.
I want you to understand. So that's why I talk a lot. So because I want you to understand. I want you to know that I'm not trying to be unjust. When I talk to my children, I talk to
Mhm.
my children about how they supposed to respect their mothers. You know what I'm saying? How they supposed to respect me, how they supposed to respect themselves and listen
Right.
and stuff like that. So I'm not no. If I'm mad, I'm not gonna let them know that I'm mad. I'm gonna tell them the truth. But so I don't know, man, like our relationship, man, oh man, it just turns into, you know, just doing stuff for people. And that was just basically it, you know. When necessary, you know, I could take the kids somewhere, her children. I could, pay for them and do certain things for them. But when it came down to telling them from right and wrong, and telling them what they need to be focusing on, it was always a hassle, you know.
That's that's what we're getting. That's the help.
Yeah,
That's the help. We got to be honest about it, you know. That's the
yeah,
help. It's not right. Just because you did certain things, your intentions might not been all they was, but you tried. You tried to put some effort into the marriage. You put some time into the
no,
marriage. You can't negate that. You mean that didn't make
no,
it right for you to be treated like the help.
right,
You can take
no,
accountability, but that doesn't excuse. You don't take the share of somebody else's blame.
no,
Like your accountability, like you're talking about now, is by trying not to get in that situation again. You like you say you got married again, and you going about it trying to go about it in a different way.
no,
That's the accountability. But at the same time, like it needs to be discussed because we need to help other people not fall into that situation.
right,
You know what I'm saying? Because I know for a fact, different older community leaders, imams, and stuff like that weren't telling me stuff. You mean like my own father would have told me stuff. But I was always like, when I wanted to escape, there ain't no stopping me. I'm going to use this for an escape. I'm trying to escape stuff that I've going inside of me. That I ain't dealt with. Unresolved issues, unresolved trauma. So I had a system of making something what it's not. And blocking stuff out. So I was going to do what I was going to do, but that doesn't make it right for other people who are responsible um, to not be able to give me a balanced advice. Like okay, you know what I mean? Brothers got issues,
right,
but sisters also got issues too. It's not
right.
this, and it's not this
And
oppressed women thing,
anybody,
and that's what
right,
leads brothers into these situations. Is a culture. Like even outside the Muslim community that comes to the Muslim community that makes it like, and it's been going on. Since the say like the '80s, people talk about. Certain professionals, certain black male scholars and stuff talk about in the '80s where it was a push for black men to become stepfathers, step up, step up, step
right,
up. But, but nothing, nothing with that. Is not all the women are innocent. And deserve you to be in be in that situation with them. Deserve your attention like that. Not all of them are capable of making it work too. Just because they have children. There's certain things
right.
they have to do. If it is going to be children in there, there's certain things that have to be done on their end to make it work. There's certain things that have to be done Islamically to make it right. You know what I mean? It's a,
Well, and if I may speak, also, it's like we are raised in this society. We're raised in these school systems. We're raised with like, you know, people around us, aunts or whatever, saying, certain things that stick with us as children. Oh, don't listen to this, don't listen to that, or whatever. But it's like, well, what do I listen to? Are you giving me what I'm supposed to be listening to?
mm-hmm,
Like, and they don't have that structure when they're growing up. Like when they have children. who's giving somebody a good advice? Like good advice, they will be good for whoever, not just you in your situation. Because if it just works for you, what about the person who's with you? Because remember, it's just you. Like it's just working for you. So in and that and for real, they don't even give you advice that works for you. They just don't say anything. You know, people don't want to be involved. They don't want to help situations out and really help them out. You know, everybody want to, well, I think that it could go this. Like, how about doing some research and looking at people who had these selective lives that they selected, by
they
research.
selected. Right. That's important that they selected.
Right. So,
both.
Yeah. I'm
both
gonna
men.
step back here and show you. Okay, inshallah.
Both men and women choose, certain things, and they have a responsibility for those choices, So it's just not about men choose. Women, they have accountability for their choices too, So, like you said, that has to be investigated and not just passed off. Like my therapist had made a comment to me, like when I was talking to him about my situation. He said, sometimes, these walis, because obviously being aware of our situation in the Black Muslim community, with not having structure for so long, women just pick their own walis and stuff like that. Where the wali, it's not imam necessarily community, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't have any accountability to anything. He can just disappear, after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he said sometimes these walis, they just want to marry the sister off. So that was his take, So that's something to consider too. Sometimes they just want to get her married, but also I wouldn't negate that that cultural thing, because the same problems from Islam coming to Islam, where we had that feminist thing push in, where we cause us to look at women as default oppressed and our men as default oppressors,
Right. And then, vice versa, though.
Right.
Vice versa.
Yeah, but that's what the feminist thing is. That, yeah. So somebody will find out the hard way. Like, no, they have issues too. It's not just all the brothers being abusive, because it's like a recent and I like recent stuff. So it was a recent example where a brother had shared a post from somebody I don't know. This brother was another Muslim brother. Had a Muslim name, and he was talking about women in marriages, sisters in marriages, and brothers not satisfying them sexually, so they need to. They don't have another outlet, So they go on girls' trips, something like that, and commit adultery, such and such, such and such. And the way it was framed, the way it was framed, it was like, I see the words, but those nuances, certain things, like, oh, this is more harmful than what is good,
Yeah.
If you want to talk about certain issues that some people have, but if you do it in a way where those who don't really have those issues can just use it to exploit, the brother is handling business, she just don't want to be right, because when it comes down to it, anyway,
she don't want to be wrong.
Yeah, she don't want to be wrong. She don't want to live right. She don't want to be wrong. So she could just make up like stuff, Oh, he was doing this. He was neglecting it. He was this. He wasn't, doing this. So the ones that really need that help, that really going through it, they get overshadowed by the ones that just want to use that feminist push to, to exploit the situation. Because when that post got made, it was like all kind of likes and comments on that. And then it was a sister that made a post about the same thing, because there was a brother in the comments, married brother, good community brother, And he was like, well, the problem is, like, if this was men, it wouldn't go this way, This was said about men. Yeah. So sister made the comment about men, well, sisters neglecting their brothers. Not all brothers want to cheat, But some sisters neglect, So it's like 1, 3 or 4 likes, and then it was a sister all in there like, no, adultery either way. He can have more than one wife. You mean this is wrong either way. So he's like, that's what other brother was talking about. Okay, be consistent. You mean be consistent. You mean for both sides. You mean
No.
no excuse for each one of them to do that. You mean
See, for me, with that is that there's just still no accountability.
mm-hmm.
There's no accountability. So it's always, I'm going to just point here, I'm going to point there. At one point, or we're going to point here.
That's a serious
Right.
character. That's a serious character issue. That's a serious, because in the non-Muslim world, it's not a big deal. You mean
No.
it's a big deal, but for us, adultery is a major sin. They're not talking about this because it's not issue with for in our discussion. I mean, because we don't have any known experiences about that. You mean in our personal lives, but it's
Marriage isn't even a big deal. So of course adultery ain't gonna be a big deal. No, fornication is not being married and dealing in any type of privacy with a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Any type of privacy with a woman, with your eyes, with your thought. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
and you know who would like that post too will be those type of black men who like to sleep with other men's wives. You know what I mean? So they're like, yeah, you ain't handling it, and it ain't not the case. You mean? Oftentimes, most marriages, you mean by all the research, they're solvable. You mean where it's not that, it's not an issue where stuff is just so bad. You mean?
Right.
Most researchers, you mean, most professionals, they say that most of the issues can be solved. You mean? So, is more likely not the case. You mean that those stuff is that bad? You mean people want to cheat because they want to cheat? When it comes down to, come on, we recognize game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People want to cheat because they want to cheat. People want to do this because they want to do it. You know?
No, and that's just it. Because at the beginning of the conversation and at the end of the conversation, we're gonna just say like people say, the beginning and the end of the day. We ain't gonna say that. We're gonna say at the end of the beginning and the end of the conversation or the relationship is that we all know what we're thinking about. We all know what we have in our minds, period. Mm-hmm. So it's up to you to know that for me, I need to try to be just. Mm-hmm. Period. So how do I find this justice? Like, what is my flaws? For me, I ain't got to tell nobody. They ain't got to tell me or anything, because guess who know best about themselves? Mm-hmm. Period. We're not taught this stuff regularly. We're not. You know what I'm saying? We're taught, oh, well, mirror. The mirror is what we're taught. The mirror is what we're taught. How do I look to myself? How do I feel about myself? Well, how do you feel about yourself? Is that exactly who you are? Is that what you put out? Because what you put out is out. So that means that whoever is out where you put that out at that's who is accountable for telling you who you are. Right. Like somebody saying, I'm good. I'm a good person. You can say that all day, because how you feel that you're good is how you feel that you're good is. But is your feeling absolute? Not at all. Your feeling not absolute, because feelings ain't absolute. They come from what you believe and what your experience is. So what you believe may be absolute, but your experiences may not, combine with that, with what you believe. So that and your feelings, they're contradictory. So you can always get distorted, misconstrued about your feelings, because they're not absolute. It's just something that comes along with it. It helps you in your ibadah.
Right. And that's in like one of the books I'm reading, you will see like, you got one type of person, where they might have confusion about who they are, what they believe. Their low self-esteem, their self-esteem is low, unconscious things driving them. But then you have people who know what they're doing, they're aware. They just want you to think otherwise, Yeah. They don't need more self-esteem. They have too much self-esteem. They think they're entitled to exploit you. They think they're entitled to do whatever they want. So that's important in this discussion. Is the reality. Just like there are men like that, who will use women and oppress women, abuse women like that. There are women like that who abuse and oppress men, because they think they're entitled to it. So that's something you have to. It's a reality you have to. Um, and somebody will have to know if they're trying to help somebody like that. They will have to be able to differentiate between the person who has low self-esteem and the person who is unaware of certain things. They have certain unconscious things driving them, and the person who is aware of what they're doing and what they want, and they want you to think otherwise. You know, they don't have low self-esteem. They have too much self-esteem because the approach is going to be, if you approach it wrong. That's why the author talked about. Otherwise, it'd be like, you wouldn't use a dentist to do brain surgery. You mean? So he gave that example about. You mean? So think about it. Use a dentist to use brain surgery. Gave that example about how delicate it is in treating individuals when there's different personality types. So that's a lot of work. It's not something somebody can just post about from a piece article together just to, and that's what it becomes about, because it's easy for somebody to manage somebody's impression of somebody else when they got, people are masters at that, people are masters at manipulation, but it's a lot of work into even identifying how somebody might be, so, and that's important, that's important that we talk about investigating people, who they are and stuff like that. Go ahead.
You said something that was really important. You said that people try to mastermind manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
And manipulation is kind of like embedded in our DNA, really. But I think that it's the type of understanding of, it's probably a different word for it, but that might be like a more devious word for it. But if you think about it, like the good or the bad, like, so someone tries to manipulate you, they'll try to persuade you with things, or with an understanding that may be compatible to your understanding or whatever, and well, I wouldn't say it's the same thing.
Manipulation is never good.
We are really like, this is our women and us, like, it's like that we are raised to manipulate each other.
Yeah, I think so. And even those of us who are good, are living good. They have left their ways. They might be influential, but they still carry that stuff with them, and they might just taper it off differently because it becomes a part of for some, it became part of their survival to be manipulative. You know what I mean? And they found ways to balance it out some, so they might still try to manipulate you to do good, which is not right still. But
that's what I was trying to say.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a difference. Yeah, there's a little difference between somebody might try to use manipulation to do good, but some people they manipulate to harm you, to take advantage of you. Like that. So that's what I'm talking about. But that is a good point that you mentioned up, because for many it became part of survival to be manipulative, and they carried it on even when trying to do good,
Mm-hmm.
But manipulation is still never good, because it has such a way where it harms the person, even if it's with good intent,
No. So, were you about to say something?
No, go ahead.
So basically, like, we're talking about these things, wanting to be closer to each other, kind of like understand each other, because these are people that we, I don't know who's on there, but these obviously people that we, friended, what I'm saying, on Facebook and stuff like that. So our basic thing is to get some clarity and some understanding, and basically try to find solutions. So, just from like, to sum it up, I think that one, like, learning what we're learning, as far as just Muslims, this is a solution. This would tell us, like, as far as we get into the dowry situation or the polygyny situation, if we know what Allah has for us to do, khalas, that's just it. Because once we get with that individual person, then what is in their means, or what we expect of each other will be expected, because we know what Allah expects from us all together. So however you feel is just, and what you as a woman, as however she may feel is just in her wedding gift, according to her deen and according to fi Allah, kalas, that's going to be her understanding, according to her deen, according to her pursuit in learning her Quran, learning her for kifayah, in all of that. You know what I'm saying? Because at the beginning of courting, or marriage, or learning your premarital requisites and stuff like that, post and everything, it's about Allah. You know what I'm saying? It was you and your affairs, and you know what I'm saying? Allah's be regardless. You know what I'm saying? So it was you just trying to get yourself right for you. But when we come to each other, we don't like, oh well, I learned about this because I want you to do this for me. I want you to do that for me. Like, no, we doing this together. We're doing this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first thing is like, what are we supposed to do? What is our accountability within this marriage? What is it? Class. It's this. Is that? I have a slight, I'm slightly over the woman. Why? We go through that. Then, now these are the top things. If she's going to move with you or she's not. And after that, then we go into the things of personal. Well, how could I make it easy for you? How could you make it easy for me? Like, that's how, because what I am capable of doing, especially in this society, but in any society, because their affairs was different. But a woman had something that a man, may needed to make it, to make it easy for him, and a man has something, for the woman to make it easy for them. So when they came together and they knew each other's means, then they just made it work for each other.
Right. Right. And I'm gonna jump into something because you sparked something, but I would just say that since we're talking about accountability and learning, you mean learning correctly. We're learning the deen the way it's supposed to be learned. You mean structure, systematized way. Starting with the belief. And with that, you mean we can't underestimate the protection involved. You mean the assistance involved from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by doing that, to support, by learning it properly. And we take our imams. You mean take your hometown imam. You mean my imam, because that's my masjid too. You mean with our imams. You mean black imams, round type of imams. When they talk about their system in place as far as marriage, you mean a big protection. You mean you can't just come in and get married. You mean say you want to get married, they're going to have you go through counseling. You want them to perform a marriage counseling so they can figure out. Like Imam Naeem was just talking about it recently. Are you still married? Is the sister still married? You mean like things that happen? You mean like things that happen? You mean you gave a talk one time. You talked about where somebody came in the comments and it was like they knew a brother. The sister was still married. She went on and married somebody else. The brother came to the town, was following him around for a month. Think about how dangerous that could be. You mean?
Yeah.
It's dangerous. You mean? You hear stories like one time somebody now this person wasn't Muslim, but still this can happen. You know what I mean? The woman told the new guy, the new husband, to get some money from the father for the children, and it turned into one of them getting shot and killed. You mean because just think about it. Who are you to try to play a part in that? You mean as far as about money for my kids. You mean?
No,
You know what I mean?
no,
You supposed to be. That's the help. You know what I mean?
no.
Because if you're the head, if he's the head, he's going to be determining. You mean like, okay, you know, I got this. You know what I mean? We don't really need you. That's your job as a father. You mean we already got the arrangement because okay, in the first place, you mean if I'm living with her, living with your children, I already got your permission and approval. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like back in the day, you know, that used to happen. You mean sometimes they just for whatever reason, you mean the father allowed for the children to stay with the mother after she got remarried, but that was his decision. As opposed to now, you mean where he don't have no say in it, you know, a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. At
And
all.
the new guy, new husband, is just to help. He don't have no say in with how she deal, you know, and stuff like that. So you mean that's how that stuff happens, like people getting killed and stuff like that, and more of that can happen in our communities if we're not careful. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So we need with those imams, they have those things. You know what I mean? They're if the sister don't have a wali, then they as the imam, somebody is accountable, known and accountable, they become the wali. You know what I mean? And there's certain things that they respect for both parties to have before they do the marriage, or they're not going to do the marriage. So that's protection when we talk about preventing these cases of the help situations where you know what I
Very.
mean, you know what I mean, that both people are members of a community. Me, that what you can prevent it. You mean like don't marry a sister that's not part of a community that she's accountable for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where she can do her own thing if she's a lone wolf. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But she's part of a community that she respects and they respect. It's some accountability. You mean, you know?
And that's very important. I feel that it's very important because when you sit up under the imam and you learn these things, you understand it. You have to you have to know the importance of a perspective. You have to know the importance of how to treat each other. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And by getting into them, I don't have no notes here, so my memory's kind of. But we got into some deep things,
Mm-hmm.
some deep stuff that I didn't know. I actually did it twice. I did it with Imam Naeem, and I did it with Sheikh Kareem Abdul-Yahya. Um,
Nice.
you know,
Yeah.
and they were both extensive.
Nice.
It's a lot of notes.
And it's for your benefit too, because we have issues too. You mean it's not just about the sisters. We have issues that we don't want to bring into the marriage. You mean on our end to make it harder. You mean, and they gonna, like you said, they're gonna be on you.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Yeah, and then when you have both understandings about talaq,
Mm-hmm.
How many times it's said at one time. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And actually knowing did you say it or didn't say it.
Mm-hmm.
Saying and just same thing with the women. Um, there's Kula and knowing how that works and everything. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, just so many things into that.
And
Getting what you,
I was gonna say that's blessings. It's blessings by just doing it. You mean by just learning it the proper way. It's
yeah,
blessings in there. You mean it's protection in there. You mean unseen the support in there. You mean
yeah,
because all knowledge is a benefit to it. You mean even that session of learning knowledge. You mean is a cause where certain things are brought up. Where the scholars are mentioned is a call for the mercy to descend. You mean and, I just saw in addition to that I saw it was like from Sheikh Yahya wrote this post
yeah,
from his page that was talking about that like that it's like the water. You mean any water that comes to the earth it causes stuff to grow. So that mercy causes growth in the heart. You mean causes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I would say, one is your therapy, your counseling, the premarital requisites. That's very important.
Mm-hmm.
One reason it's important because it tells you the things that are necessary. You know, for you to know about yourself and for you to know about your future selves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Accountability as far as you being mindful of the things that you were indoctrinated with before, especially if you're a revert.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be mindful at all times, because we can do injustice to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can do injustice to ourselves quickly, we can do injustice to someone else,
Mm-hmm.
especially if, if it's our partner. 9 out of 10, we do more injustice to our partners because they're right beside us.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't know what that is, then we ain't gonna know that we're doing injustice. We're gonna just start getting in battles, arguing, screaming, hollering, and stuff, and not understanding. Oh, guess what? I sound just like the women. I'm just arguing just to argue instead
Mm-hmm.
of finding a solution. Okay, we know what the problem is. Boom. What's the solution?
Right. Finding a solution.
Right. Usually the cure is in the opposite of disease.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do? Just exactly what happened. What were y'all talking about? What was the first argument? And then other things that happened before that. If we don't uh if we don't be mindful to these situations, we're not going to be mindful of the solution. We're going to just
Right.
always be in it, and it's going to connect to the other one. Women's good at that, and I'm
Right.
not saying women's good at that as far as like it's something that I want to carry on for it to be a negative thing, but they be good at that because they carry the feelings on their shoulders. So we have to understand the the genetics as we know of our women and of us also. What makes us carry things that we shouldn't carry? What makes, as far as we can find out, what makes women carry things that they shouldn't carry, you know? And if it's hard for them to understand and it's hard for them to get it, you just keep trying. You don't take on what they're doing because why?
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna make me do something that I don't want to do
Right.
just because you saying whatever you say. No, I'm gonna stick to what helps the situation. I'm gonna keep reminding you. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
repeat it and I'm gonna repeat it and I'm gonna do. That's the only thing that's gonna fix the situations that we're in right now.
Right.
We gotta be
Now,
doers. We need
and if we're,
reminders. We meet up with people, with each other. The men
mm-hmm.
need to the men need to meet up with the men. The women need to meet up with the women on their own. Oh, I ain't chilling with that brother. This and that, whatever. But if we see we're in the same community, same thing. If the sisters are like that or not. We need to bond with each other and share information. That's what our grandparents and all of them did. They sat up on a porch, rock, whether they was talking about somebody or not. But most of the time when they was talking about somebody, they was talking about the one that's rocking with them. You know what I'm saying? So they exchanged information, and either we're gonna intentionally exchange information or we're gonna get it default. But when we intentionally do it, we know what information we're getting because we're seeking it. But if we do it by default, then we're going to just extract any information because we are what we eat. We go around with family members and talk about things that we shouldn't talk about with them.
Mm-hmm.
We're bringing that into ourselves. Old things that we used to do that we don't do now because we're Muslim. But when we get with our people, we start doing it because they ain't Muslim.
Right.
Don't even acknowledge it. No,
Mm-hmm.
we raise here. Our thoughts, our feelings, our understandings, and everything is from the school systems that we came from. You know what I'm saying? There, there is no religious school systems. The public school system, it'd be nice if we could have a public Islamic school system. That'd be gee.
Mm-hmm.
But, they probably won't. Obviously, it ain't here now. No one has opened a public school system where we get free Islamic or even Christian
Right.
education all in the same building. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And the thing that when you talk about the solutions, is no space at all for it's no working it if
yeah,
the woman doesn't respect you. I mean, if she sees you as the help you, I mean, if that can't be rectified immediately, then it's only going to make it worse by trying to stay in it.
yeah,
It's only going to make it worse. It's going to be more harmful to to her, whatever children involved, you mean, because no respect, it brings about.
How do you know though? My bad. How does some this is how do you, it's a question, but it's also like just a statement. It's like how do you know when like really, how do you know when you're the help? Especially afterwards, like when you're contemplating on it. How do you know that you're the help? Because when you in it, you kind of don't know for a person who just loves the love, like this is my children, like they're your children, and I'm just doing it. You know what I'm saying? How do you know? Even with your own children, if you have children with that person and
Mm-hmm.
then y'all split up. For me, I'm gonna just answer the question first.
Okay. Go ahead. Go
For
ahead.
me, how I know that I was just a help is because I'm not in a household, you're not making sure that my children do what I tell them to do. We're not corresponding when they get on your nerves. You saying, hey, da da da, whatever, in like the same way. Like because we're split, our split is not the same as the split of our children. Our split is just physical. Everything that we do with our wives is the same thing we do with everybody else on earth, or we can do, except for the intimate part.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. How we can understand someone, how if I make a mistake, how you can help me fix it or I can help you fix it, how I could love you, how I could feel for you and stuff like that, how I want to protect you, our mothers, our sisters, people, women out on the street that we don't even know. The only thing that separates that when we, become intimate, marriage and intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only disconnect. So if we part that, just that connection of intimacy and marriage, we have everything still there. But why isn't it there? Like why can't you look at me objectively as a father of your children and you teach them not, oh yeah, I love you ain't gotta say none of that. But you could teach them as if I'm there. You could know my schedules of when my children are supposed to pray and make sure, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
those things should still be there. You ask, what did you tell them to do? You know, that doesn't tell me that you still like me, you still want to be with me. No, that just tells me that we are co-parents and we want the best for our children. Period.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's different ways, because your authority, it's not undermined. You have, different situations, depending on the kid's age, is just more delicate where you might um allow her to have certain conversations if it's not your kids, but it's still on your behalf sometimes, You know what I mean? Say if you
Hmm.
want something to be done, it needs to be done, and it might be easier for her to talk to because the age is whatever, the connection, certain things going on, then she will be doing it on your behalf, still. But if you're to help, it ain't about what you're saying.
No,
It's about what I'm saying too.
because 9 out of 10 they was dominating when you was there. So
Right.
domination is just stronger now.
So it's like, um, no, you to help. You're supposed to just do this and go work and all this. Such and such, such, such. But no, they ain't got to do that. They ain't got to do what you say.
Yeah, it's just non-support. That's when you know that you was just to help. When they don't support you with any of that stuff,
Hmm.
with nothing. I know what you're doing, but you do that. That's what you do. But I was doing that when I was there.
Hmm.
You was telling me about the little that you was having and all that or whatever. We can communicate about that. But when it comes to something that's beneficial, you know what I'm saying? We can't communicate. Am I beneficial? Do you feel that I'm beneficial to my children?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And those are the questions that we have to ask, and you would really know when they can't answer and where they don't want to answer, they just want to argue.
Hmm.
That's when you know.
Stuff is like, on a job, at a business, at a institution. It's leadership. It's not. It's not the absence of somebody is in charge or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's known. It's clear. But when you help, that's not. It's not the case. It's not the case. You know what I mean? Because authority is supposed to be clear. Okay, certain things that you want. You don't be harsh and stuff about everything. You still got to be just, but certain things in within reason. Okay, you might want a certain kind of way. You should have to make things work. It's just how it is. We have no problem in the outside world. Where we go to a job where it's leadership. Where somebody's. That's how it is. Somebody has to be in charge. And
Facts.
the man is the head. The man is the leader. That doesn't mean That's not an oppressive thing. That's a benefit thing. You mean it's a responsibility. You know him. It's a burden if he doesn't discharge it right. You mean it's a
Mhm.
weight. You mean it's not something to compete with. You mean but you have that competing thing. You also have the undermining language. Is like oh you're just trying to you're just insecure or something like that. That's one of the
One of the
terms
things.
we use. You try to undermine it, like, oh, you're just insecure.
Yeah.
Like,
You
why?
think you know everything? No, I'll just talk about this one thing. It's not
Right,
everything.
right.
It's not that
I
I
don't,
think I know everything.
I don't want you to go here because they um shooting or something like that. How can I be really genuinely concerned? Or it's
Yeah,
it'd be
yeah.
different if like somebody if you married a woman and she was already dressed in a certain kind of way, then you knew you was in an uphill battle to begin with. You know what I mean? So it's not like I want more. No, so it's not like certain things that's already reasonable things you mean to accept her to be at. You mean if you marry a woman that she's already dressing half naked, and you should have thought about that before you went into that because it's gonna be a hard
But
thing
you,
to maybe to
you
get
know,
right.
we know what we be getting into. This will be our nest.
But certain reasonable requests are going to be undermined. It's going to be certain you know pushback in certain words. I mean it's going to be
Yeah,
it's going to be gradual. So one of those gradual things is oh you're just insecure or something your name like that.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
gradual way of undermining you till you mean stuff gets bad and then they can be like well F you.
and that's the only solution. Just F you. Like, what about what after that or before
Right,
that? Is there any other words that we could bring in?
right, right. So that's the thing. Like the respect it has to be there, or it's gonna be all bad for everybody involved. And most importantly, the kids, because more than likely, you mean we're not gonna change as much, but the kids they have a whole lifetime ahead to change. You mean
Mm-hmm.
and to develop. So they're gonna be harmed the most by the structure not being right. You mean the
Right.
respect not being there. They're gonna be confused about marriage and not want to marry or something like that. Like, this is marriage. I don't want to deal with this. You know what I mean? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's living fantasy lives. I mean, that's not most of us as Muslims. Yeah, we have our problems and stuff like that. But like for me, you know, my youngest kids are just Muslim, and my middle son, you
Mm-hmm.
know, he's Muslim, but their mothers aren't. So we have those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
But within the community, I'm not marrying no more non-Muslim. But within our community, there's some of the same traits.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't want to leave you hanging, but I gotta help myself because you may still fall in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So now, all right, so I gotta help myself before that, but I may still fall into that situation. So
Mm-hmm.
I have to help myself after that because
Mm-hmm.
just because you end up being too weak and you fell in a situation, you didn't listen to your email and stuff like that or whatever, and you may have fell in a situation. What do? You cur out? You divorce? No, we don't think of that. What do? We seek counseling.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So we go into seeking counseling with other people. We use what we have. We might have to use what we have first. We might not just go straight out to seek other physical counseling,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But we talk amongst each other and we put on a table what's put on a table. If everybody's mind, their intellect is there, because some people is just not there. They can't comprehend certain things.
Right.
It's
Right.
crazy. And that's another thing that we get into is that people just doesn't have this type of comprehension,
Mm-hmm.
where they can't sit and contemplate on solutions for things that they got themselves into or follow along with certain things. Certain things that we eat that mess that up. There's certain, things that we're around, not, not staying away from certain things that we
Mm-hmm.
should be staying away from, drops of stuff around or whatever, or not offering extension correctly. And like if we physically put somebody in a time frame, someone who makes extension and someone who doesn't, you will physically see a difference. I mean, that's just facts, and that's facts that I learned from myself. In physical essence, like me looking and knowing, like what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So those are things that we have to like pay attention to and do our best. Someone has to be the one who is mindful. Otherwise, then you just need to seek help from
Mm-hmm.
someone else in the beginning. Because if both of you guys, both of us are being unjust to each other, then we
Right.
can't seek counsel between ourselves because we're both being unjust. Even if it started from one person, and then I came into it in an unjust way, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I cannot do what I'm supposed to do. I can't show you what I should be trying to show you,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, because I have something within myself that I need help with. So
Right.
we both seek
Both.
help for each other and
Mm-hmm.
for ourselves first individually, and then we seek help as one unit because how it is, because either of us can't control ourselves to make sure that, hey, I got you, babe. You're just crazy right now.
Right.
Let
And
me I'm gonna
that's the
go
thing.
home.
You become unjust, and you become unjust, and continue to be the help. You become unjust yourself. You mean.
Boom.
You know what I'm saying? So that has to be rectified immediately. You mean if it's
Yeah.
somebody that can be, because a lot of us need can benefit just from re-education, benefit from learning correctly. So if you
Oh,
do that, then you got to do that. You mean?
I'm sorry. One
Mm-hmm.
thing, because we have to, be clear. It is the type of help that you seek. It's just not help. Like you don't just go to any family member. Not talking directly to you,
Mm-hmm.
but not just going to any family member. I'm talking to myself and whoever else may be listening. We don't go to just any family member, especially if they're not Muslim. And if we do go to a family member that is Muslim, what is their character like?
Right.
And if their character doesn't fit the criteria, then we go to one of the elders, or we go to whoever's in charge up that line. Boom. You know what I'm saying? We
Mm-hmm.
start at, the closest round, and then we just go to the email. But because at the end of the day, it's not, we ain't trying to hide anything because then that's injustice. If I want to hide it from certain people, that means I'm hiding something for myself, of myself. You know what I'm saying? So we want to just be just. Nothing is is a secret for real, for real. I mean, there are things that are secrets, but as far if I'm being unjust, then that it can't be a secret. It can't because otherwise, then you're stuck in that injustice.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, you have to seek the proper help
Mm-hmm.
because we want to be just with each other. We want to be sincere. Like our first thought of compassion and love is just what it is. That is just what it is. So, what is compassion? What is love? Everybody can have a definition of it. They can have the information, but what is the heart?
Mm-hmm.
Information is just information. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So,
And many of our people need professional mental health help too. And that
yeah,
has to be that has to be a stop to
yeah,
um, being against that. When many people need that. Obviously, like that's why I started this group for myself, benefiting from that. And trying to continue to benefit from that. And I have a black Muslim therapist. That I have regularly. And it's out there. It's affordable.
mm,
Is available and is affordable. There are programs where the one I have. Therapy that I have is affordable. Is bargain price for somebody who's much more qualified than that price. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's a program that's specifically designed for us to help benefit us, to benefit Black people. And Black Muslims. So people need to take advantage of that and to not discourage other people from getting that.
yeah. Because some people they'll know where to go look, but they'll go in the opposite place just because. Like, why? Why? You know what I'm saying? Do you when you need medical help, do you go to a police officer?
Right.
No, you
Right.
go to one who fits that criteria.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
You going to the hospital, if your stomach feel wrong, you going to the hospital, you know. So
so
just
you don't want to go.
you want to go when something's up here,
Facts.
you know.
Facts. Because we just be running from like we run from our mistakes, and
Mm-hmm.
we think that the
Good
mistakes
mistake.
that we make are us. That's something that was put on us. Maybe before we even understood that it was something that was bad. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. So we got to get out of that. I'm only trying to let this. Nah, somebody lied to you.
Right.
I know what the truth is. Somebody lied to you and they didn't tell you how to get out of these situations, but you know that you don't want to be in it. So
Mm-hmm.
don't think that, somebody, because you telling somebody what you need help in, they're going to, if somebody dictate you like that, the lost man, miss me with that. All right, I told you, well, like, I told you, and you didn't take it sincerely. So I'm not going to be mad because I told you something that I need help with. No, I'm going to just seek another help that I thought, or I think there's the right type of help. We gotta understand, like, the stuff that we do and that we may do is it's a part of our, it's something that
Mm-hmm.
it could be the wrong information. That's one of the reasons why we're being taught how to seek or how to acknowledge the right information, how to seek out the right information. But before that, we were getting the wrong information.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So we want to rectify that situation. Men, women out there, we just want to rectify our situation. We want to be right. We want to be good. We want to do good. We want to be, try to be righteous. We want to move forward so that we can receive the great gift. You know what I'm saying? We want to receive the mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what we want. But if we just keep being in the denial of ourselves, like, hey, nobody got to know. Don't nobody got to know.
Mm-hmm.
But you and who is trying to help, period.
Yeah. And that's that accountability. That's that in game accountability where we move to the point where we can acknowledge our faults, you know, but then we just go into the same cycle. But when we can acknowledge them, and then when we can break those cycles, then that's the real accountability that we need, where we're not
Yeah.
getting in the same situations. Because otherwise, without getting certain type of help, both mental, spiritual, that we just stay in those cycles, stay in those cycles, harming ourselves and allowing us to harm us, and harming others,
No, that's just it.
Mhm.
That's just it. I was gonna say something. I can't remember what I was gonna say, but it's almost time for Margaret.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
we coming at the 1:30 mark anyway, so we've been
yeah,
going on for almost an hour and a half, so that's
yeah.
good. Any last things you wanted to say?
Um, man, I just say, like, seek this counseling. You know, seek the soul, seek counseling. Like I said, like, we seek counseling to better ourselves.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's it.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
I would
that's
say
it.
to and for anybody that will be watching this, is a primary science of Islam. For so long, many of us might have heard about it, but it was something that was thought to be secret, thought to be amongst the elite, and others who were misled to thinking that it was something that was kufr, or bid'ah, people just dancing, extreme stuff, worshiping graves. None of that. Word tasawwuf is a primary science of Islam,
Bro,
derived from the Hadith of Jibril.
no. For
So
someone to even think that means that they think that they should not practice any of the sciences, period.
yeah,
Because that's what the soul is. It's practicing everything that Prophet Muhammad
right.
sallallahu alaihi
You need it to make your worship acceptable.
wasallam.
To get the
Yeah,
benefit of your worship. That's why
practice
um,
of it better.
Imam Ghazali said that it's obligatory in the sense that you have to remove those blameworthy, ruinous traits from the heart and replace them with those saving those characteristics that's going to allow you to enter paradise. So tasawwuf in
Yeah,
a sense is obligatory on us.
Tatlia and Taklia and Tatlia.
Hmm. So it's obligatory on us. You know what I mean?
No.
And this is something you mean that was as taught as a science, that is books, you mean that we come to learn, that we didn't know, that is structured way of teaching. It is books. Scholars that have books on tasawwuf, you mean that is written in a certain way where it's structured like the other sciences are structured, where they have structure. They have certain books that you study, you mean. There's certain books that you study in tasawwuf, you mean. So that's a big part of our healing, you mean, as well. When we talk about mental and the spiritual aspect, we talk about tasawwuf, so we can remove some of these traits from our hearts, you mean, so we can be better and we can avoid these situations, you mean. And then both our men and our women are, you mean, are doing just that, you mean, then we can fix the problems, you mean.
Inshallah.
Fix the problems, you know, inshallah. So
Inshallah.
I appreciate you coming on here and sharing with yourself, you mean, and being willing to step out here, you know what I mean, you know, because it can be dangerous out here for a man to talk, you know, you can be censored, you mean. Saw that brother on there. He
Yeah.
doesn't like women. He's a oppressor.
He said what?
He's an oppressor. He's against women. He's a misogynist.
Somebody said that?
I'm just saying, you know,
Oh.
it's easy to say because it's you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anytime you talk,
Yeah.
what are you talking
Yeah,
about? You
and
know?
it's nothing like that at all.
It's nothing about that. We're trying to bring solutions. You mean, we're not trying to be disrespectful or you mean.
So we want to put out there that we are not them type of men.
We are not those type of men.
We honor women, and we believe that we can't do anything without their companionship. Like deep companionship. Like there's certain things that women are created with that we're not. There's certain things that women get blessings for that we don't. So we're created different. We're created for different purposes and for some of the same purposes. And we just gotta act upon those.
Oh, you froze. You froze. You froze for a second, but we are. It's not like the group, where it's groups of black men out there where they're like taking certain true things that they've learned about that the enemy. We have a common enemy. You mean it has us fighting against each other. You mean, that we should. Imam Naeem said, "I just got here, don't know what was said, but y'all still oppressors and misogynists." He jumped in the comments. So that needs to be said because they got the groups, the men going their own way and all that stuff. You mean where they like they talk about these real issues that they learn. You mean that was meant to be learned, not to use them how they use them. You know what I mean? They use them like now, like this women this. But we have the responsibility to bring solutions to ourselves and our women. That's as men, we have the responsibility to bring the solutions. You mean? In the black community, some of the black men who have got certain knowledge about what has been happening have just used that to abdicate themselves from responsibility. Now we got the responsibility to educate ourselves and educate our women to bring about solutions. As men, that's our responsibility. So as what I mean, we can't run away from that, and that will be injustice. That will be an abandonment. So we're not those type of men. I mean, we want to.
We also got to. We have to. We got to protect them, and we have to. What's the word I'm looking for?
Protect them. Yeah.
We got to compliment them. We can't be walking around, looking like the next thug on the street, and a woman's sitting there with hijab, niqab. You know what I'm saying? And we just walking around like, Mom. Even if I dress like that on my, by myself, I'm with my wife. I mean, I dress like that regardless now, but I'm saying like, with your wife, there's there's haters out here. You want them to look at her and so you can run, just slide like, oh, I'm out of here. They after you, babe.
Wa alaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Imam Naeem gave us salam.
Wa alaikum salam rahmatullah.
Yeah. So we're gonna get going so you can. I know it's about to be prayer time.
Yeah, inshallah.
Inshallah. So, may Allah forgive us for any wrong was definitely from us, and any benefit was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we ask Allah to continue to allow us to improve, and to learn and grow and strengthen each other, and do our part, to really do our part, what's necessary for our communities or for the families to be,
Man.
an active part in the growth as far as Black Muslims and Islam, and Islam that was kept away from us, and implement it in the way that is the best and the beneficial and closest to the way that is acceptable. The closest to the way that was laid down by the Sahaba and those that came after him, that we follow them, and we seek the traces of the blessings from them, and those who pious who that came after him, who tried to implement it, who implemented what they received, from an unbroken chain to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. All right, so once again, I appreciate it, brother, and appreciate anybody that all those who commented, those who listened in silence, and those who did share some comments. So, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.